you want to listen to this, okay? Because it's the same things that you would do to start this side hustle and run with it. It's the same thing I did to get started to recover. So the first thing I did was I reassociated with my goals because I had to create that hunger, that burning desire. And then the next piece is you got to make a decision, okay?
Welcome to the Physicians and Properties Podcast, the show where we teach you how investing in real estate can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want.
Doctor!
Now, here's your host, Dr. Alex Khleif.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Physicians and Properties Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Alex Khleif, and today I'm joined by Rod Khleif. He is a legend in the space, a multifamily investor, best-selling author, host of the Lifetime Cashflow Podcast, which we were just talking about before, and is now the largest real estate podcast in the world, which is amazing. Rod also leads one of the largest coaching communities with students who collectively own over 260,000 units. He founded the Tiny Hands Foundation, which has helped feed over 160,000 children. Rod, I hope this intro did a little semblance of a good introduction for you, because what you've done has been legendary, and I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Well, I'm a legend in my own mind, for sure. But I appreciate it. Doc, I'm looking forward to this. And I appreciate you having me on. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, being a legend in your own mind, that's probably one of the most important things, and excited to talk more about mindset with you here soon. But let's go ahead, for folks who are meeting you for the first time, what's kind of the short version of your story and how you got into real estate?
Sure. So I'm a Dutch immigrant, think wooden shoes and windmills, and immigrated when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's 𝗵𝗆. And we ended up in Denver, Colorado. And we didn't have much growing up. In fact, we shopped at an expired food store. Believe it or not, they had that back then. And drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. And I wore hand-me-down clothes from the 𝗵𝗆𝗀 and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till when I was 14. I lied about my age because I was tall and said I was 15. So I could get a job at Burger King flipping burgers so I could buy my own clothes. And and maybe some of you doctors listening had it harder than I did when you first got started. I know what hell you go through with residency and everything else, but I knew I wanted more. And, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. With her babysitting money, she invested in real estate. Well, her first real estate acquisition was a house right across the street from us. When I was 14, she paid $30,000 for it. She bought it from a family named the 𝗄𝗎𝗄𝗄. And then when I was 17, so 3 years later, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. I'm like, what? You made 20 grand? You didn't do anything? Now, this was when 20 grand was a lot of money, mind you. And this is 1977. And I said, screw college, I'm getting into real estate. So I got into real estate, became a broker, actually, so I could have had my own office, which I was smart enough not to do. But I worked for a guy who taught me about mindset and psychology. But my first year, I made about $8,000. My second year, maybe $10,000. But my third year, I made over $100,000 as a result of this guy I was working for. Taught me really, because 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the real estate stuff we talk about on our shows. But, fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I've rented long-term. I own thousands of apartments now. In 2000, and I'm into senior housing, as we discussed, which I know you're into, Alex. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. And I got a head so big, I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little reckoning, a little smackdown. Well, that was 2008 and 9. I conservatively lost about 50 million in 2008 and 9. And so, what I'm known for talking about on my show and at my events and things like that is really the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. And maybe more importantly, the mindset it took to recover from that. And so, if you come to one of my boot camps, for example, the first thing we do is goal setting on steroids, because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You need to know what it is you want. You've got to create enough of a burning desire and hunger to push through fear or push through limiting beliefs, or, maybe you're comfortable, and we both know the comfort zone's a nice warm place and nothing freaking grows there, right? So, that's why we start with goals. But anyway, we can expand on that later if you like.
Yeah, I would love to. I just recently got back from an investing retreat. We talked a lot about mindset, and I'd love to talk more about that with you. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the $50 million elephant in the room. What was that like for you? That 2008 crash? I know you were in single family at the time.
I mean, let me just say that it sucked. I thought I was set for life. I had 800 houses and I had several apartment complexes, and it was the houses that pulled me down. And I'll explain why. So I had these 800 houses up and down the Gulf Coast of Florida, from north of Tampa all the way to just north of Naples and everywhere in between. So logistically, it was a mistake. That was one piece. Second piece is Florida has no state income tax, so the property taxes are higher proportionately. And I had properties in wind and flood zones, which had wind and flood insurance, so that's higher. All this stuff impacts cash flow. But the big thing was, these were C-class houses, okay? There's A, B, C, and D. A's the brand new stuff, D's the hood. Stay out of the hood. I did plenty of hood stuff in Denver. Stay out of the hood. Ask me how I know. But these were C-class. So they're older properties, tougher demographic. The tenants are tougher on them. And so lots of maintenance. And if I had a maintenance issue at one of my apartment complexes, we're able to stockpile parts. We've got a parts room with appliance parts, plumbing parts, electrical parts, door locks, window locks, you name it, everything. So a maintenance guy can get in and out in an hour. Well, if I had to send a maintenance guy to one of my houses that's an hour away, they have to go see what's wrong. Every house is different, so they can't stockpile the parts. And then they have to go find a Home Depot or Lowe's where we have an account, which could be another hour. And I don't know about you, Doc, but when Rod goes to fix something, he ends up going to Home Depot more than once because he forgot something. And, it's not unsimilar with maintenance guys. And so what took an hour at one of my apartment complexes took all day at one of my 800 houses. And, so they never really cash flowed well. And I was only at a 30% loan to value. Okay. And I still crashed and burned. And people are like, oh, you were over leveraged. No, I owed 30 cents on the dollar. But the coup de grace, as it were, the final straw was I didn't pay attention to tenant demographics back then. If they had a good job and they had good credit and they paid a deposit, I let them move in. Well, what I discovered after the fact was I had a bunch of contractors, plumbers, electricians, drywallers, painters, roofers, you name it. And that work fell off a cliff. They didn't have work, so they couldn't pay the rent. And so now you want to hear something crazy? By the end of 2009, early 2010, my portfolio, which I had tried to sell in bulk, was worth less than what I owed. That's how much it dropped. Yeah, it was a crazy time. And so anyway, but we're seeing a meltdown in multifamily right now too, and that's what I teach. I teach all the asset classes now. I teach senior housing and student housing and self-storage and industrial flex. But in the multifamily, which is where I started, we're seeing a meltdown. There's a huge wall of debt. A lot of these operators got adjustable rate debt, and they're dying, and expenses have gone through the roof. I teach a 50% expense ratio, meaning total income on the property less property related expenses without the debt should be 50% or less. Well, now I teach 60%. Okay, that's how much expenses have gone up, which is significant. And so. And of course, the interest rates have killed people as well. A lot of people got bridge debt with adjustable rate interest. I'll give you an example of it. I mean, my point is there's incredible opportunity upon us right now. I've got a 200 unit asset in San Antonio. We call them assets, an apartment complex. And right next door is a 300 plus unit that's sold in 21 or 22. Don't quote me on it. It's 21 or 22, sold for $43 million. Okay. Bank now owns it. It's down to 28. And it's right next door to ours, same vintage, everything. I'm not even interested unless it gets to 24, 43 to 24. Okay, that's what's happening out there right now. So there's incredible opportunity coming. And, if you're listening, Doc, and you're interested, I'm speaking to you individually, each one of you, and you need to do something more. By the way, I've got a bunch of surgeons and dentists and doctors in my coaching program, my Warrior program, and I'll brag for a second. You said 260,000. It's actually closer to 300,000. We're fairly certain.
Oh wow, amazing!
They own under my tutelage. I'm very proud of that. So I'm bragging a little here, but the point is, there's incredible opportunity right now. So is there ever a time to learn this and get into it? That's just in multifamily. We talk about senior housing as well, Doc. I know you're in that. There's 10,000 people a day turning 65 in this country. I'm one of them. I turned 66 a couple of weeks ago. And, and there's a huge shortage of beds. was an opportunity to buy these existing facilities. It costs a lot to build a new facility. It's like $200 to $250 a bed. And you can buy existing facilities for under $100. The returns are great. I closed on my first one a couple of months ago in Pittsburgh, which is a market I normally wouldn't have got into, but the demographics are great for this particular business. And we're on track to buy 10 in the next 18 months. We're all over it. I put a whole team together, so I'm very excited about senior housing as well. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. I'll get off my soapbox for a minute here.
No, so good. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's tons of opportunity in multifamily space, as you mentioned, senior housing as well, of course. I mean, there's a massive shortage of beds, anywhere from 645,000 to 1 million, depending on where you're looking. There's trillions of dollars with a T that needs to be poured into new development if we're going to come anywhere close to meeting the supply-demand mismatch.
We have to exceed the past building to try to match this. And I think we're heading into a crisis, actually, but it's an incredible opportunity for people that get into the business. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you the operator as well, or are you just doing the real estate piece?
Here's a quick reality check. If you are a physician building wealth through real estate, your biggest asset likely isn't your rental portfolio. It is your income. Financial freedom may only be a few properties away, but disability, that can wipe out the plan overnight if you're not protected. Leverage RX helps physicians get the right, true own occupation disability insurance, so your lifestyle, your family, and your investing plan stay intact no matter what. Go to leveragerx.com/physicians and properties. That's leveragerx.com/physicians and properties, and protect the thing that funds everything. Yeah, so it's a kind of both. So we got started in residential assisted living, leased to operator, some homes in Phoenix. So we bought 5. Then we partnered with an operator in Wisconsin. We bought 3 more.
Did you say homes?
Now we're working on.
Are you doing residential like the Gene Guarino model?
Yeah, we started doing residential. Yep.
Oh,
so we
gotcha.
largely do residential, which I think residential has its unique advantage of one of the ways we're going to be able to solve the housing crisis is adoption of more residential assisted living because we have single family homes, right?
Yep.
And so I think that is a way to do it. We also are in the larger space as well. So we're working on some larger development projects right now and getting ready
so
to
you're
start.
actually building. Okay.
Yep, we're doing some builds. Yep, and then we're getting ready to take down 117 units in Dallas, partnered with an operator. So we largely partner with operators and then go where the good operators are. That's the hardest part, I think, is to find the good operator.
It's to find a good operator. It's the same thing in multifamily with find a good property management company. Hell, I'm suing one right now. Oh my God, they that's so bad. Oh, it was terrible. but that's cool. So you're doing the houses. Yeah. I mean, I really explored that. I was friends with Gene before he passed. And
unfortunate.
Yeah. It was COVID, actually, believe it or not. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But I think his daughter is following in his footsteps. But yeah, no, I was very interested in that model. Went to his course and everything and was, I threatened to do senior housing back in 2007. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I got my administrator's license here in Florida. Actually did the course. Could have ran my own facility. I got the domain name affordableseniorhousing.com, which as a knucklehead I let go. But and I put a whole team together, and then of course my world collapsed in 2008. So I had to shift gears. But I have an affinity for the elderly. I think you need to love the elderly if you're going to get into this business. And
100%.
I do just like I love kids. So but it's an exciting business. I mean, the tidal wave, they call it the silver tsunami, is coming.
Yeah.
And
right.
I got crushed by that wave in 2008. I'm surfing this one. Okay.
There you go. I love that, Rod. Yeah, you're exactly right. The silver tsunami is coming, but whether we want to or not, and it opens a lot of opportunity, not only for housing seniors, but also there's so many mom and pop operators in the space who now are looking to retire as that baby boomer generation ages. So it offers a fantastic opportunity to get into some of these deals, as you mentioned, kind of some value add assisted living facilities is a really great play as well.
Question. What are you paying per bed for your development?
Well, it depends. We don't have the final numbers yet on these on the latest ones, but you're about 200,000 per bed. So you're right. This is going to be more luxury boutique and memory care.
Oh, sure.
So
Sure.
Charge more.
No, you'll kill it. You'll kill it even at those numbers. But there's a limited kind of opportunity right now, I think, for the existing facilities. And to get them, and the numbers are, the returns are fantastic. I mean, we're
it's amazing.
10 to 15% cash on cash, upwards of 25 IRR, which is just extraordinary. So you're not finding that in multifamily, really any other asset class right now. So very exciting. And we partnered with a really good operator. I've run some fairly decent sized companies that I built, 100 employees, and culture is a big deal. And these employees at these senior housing facilities, they don't get paid super well. And so I ask questions like how they educate, it's a continual education process, how they validate and empower the employees, how they praise them, how they, the culture they create is super important when you're dealing, with a high turnover type business like that. And I loved all the answers I got. We'll see. The jury's still out. I'm going to the NIC conference in Nashville here. And I don't know when. It's coming up in the next month or two, which is the big event for senior housing. And just to interview some other operators, just to, get a feel for what else is out there. So, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I might see you there. I'm trying to figure out logistically if I can get out there or one of my partners. But yeah, I agree. I think the best opportunity in real estate, now and for decades to come, given the runway of this over tsunami and the baby boomers aging. Let's go back real quick, Rod, if you don't mind. So you mentioned the losing the $50 million in the 2008 crash, right? Which I can not imagine how that impacted you. But how did you have the mindset to grow, to recover, to realize hey, I need to stay in this business?
No, I'm really glad you asked, because it's the same mindset. If you're listening and, and maybe you're in the medical field and it's okay, you're comfortable, but you're really not where you want to be financially. I mean, again, I've got orthopedic surgeons in my training program, dentists, doctors. And if you're in that place, you want to listen to this, okay? Because it's the same things that you would do to start this side hustle and run with it. It's the same thing I did to get started to recover. So the first thing I did was I reassociated with my goals. After I crawled out from underneath the rock I was hiding under for a couple months, I reassociated with my goals because I had to create that hunger, that burning desire. And then the next piece is you got to make a decision, okay? And I made a decision, okay, enough's enough. Get up, you big wuss. And I went and built a big company, litigation support company that I sold a few years ago. That was one of the companies that had 100 employees. But you got to make that decision. And I don't mean dip your toe in the water. I mean you're in. You're not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're 100% committed. You make that decision. In fact, a great analogy for a decision, the Latin root means for the word decision means to cut off. So if you're going to attack the island, you burn your ships because you're taking their damn ships home. That's a decision. It's done. Okay, you're in. And that's what you have to do. So after you create that burning desire, hunger from doing your goals, you make that decision. By the way, even if you're not interested in, attending one of my events or something, I have a goal setting workshop that I did. It's in my link tree, rodslinks.com. It's at the bottom and it's got a guide you can download. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. It's about an hour. People spend more time planning a birthday party than they do designing their lives. Doing your goals is designing your life. And you give me an hour and I'll motivate the hell out of you. I'm just telling you right now. Have your spouse do it. Have your kids, if they're over 10 years old, do it. So again, go to Rod's links and do the goal setting, regardless of whether you want to work together down the road or not, because it'll really help. But anyway, then you make that decision. Then you got to take that first step. Like Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. And I know as a doctor, you're very analytical. And I will tell you, analytical people are some of the most successful students that I have because this business is primarily empirical. It's primarily numbers. You get the numbers right and you ask all the right questions. It's pretty hard to make a big mistake. But as an analytical, you know how you have to check off every single box before you make a move. And I love you, but you can't do that here. And so I would give you the analogy, you can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlight only seeing 50 feet in front of you. You can make it. Other people have made it before you. You may have some setbacks, but it can be done. It's the same way with this business or candidly any business. But this life's not a dress rehearsal. Don't have any regrets. Maybe you fear failure. I call my failure seminars. That was a $50 million seminar. It was an expensive freaking seminar, but it's only a failure if you don't get back up or you don't get the lesson. And There was this nurse in Australia, maybe you've heard of her, Doc, a hospice nurse named Bronnie Ware. And she wrote a book. She asked her patients that were dying a question, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. It's like a national bestseller, something like The 5 Regrets of Dying. The number one regret was not living the life I could have living with someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I can't think of anything. Fear that. Don't fear failure. And back to fear for a second. Successful people have fear. They just push through in spite of it because action mitigates fear, and limiting beliefs as well. A lot of us have limiting beliefs. When I immigrated to this country, I didn't speak English. I was 6. I got thrown into school, found out what bullies were for the first time, got my butt kicked a couple times. And then my mom thought I'd be a proud Dutch woman that she is, thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in wooden shoes and those leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest, which was like freaking crack cocaine for the bullies. So I got my ass kicked again, and bullies would chase me home and she'd chase them off with a fly swatter. And so next day ass beaten. And I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? And a lot of people have these limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not courageous enough. Another one was mine was I'm not analytical enough. And there's a reason the acronym for a belief system says BS, because 99% of them are BS, right? But we believe they're real. And so, if you're consciously aware of one of these limiting beliefs, I would tell you to drag it out into the daylight. Look at it with your adult rational mind. Recognize that it's BS, and it will dissipate and go away. And, I used to be afraid to raise my hand literally in front of like 10 people in a classroom. And now I speak in front of thousands of people a year, typically in my flip-flops. Okay. So you can push through any of this stuff if you have it. I could keep going. I got a few more if you want me to keep going. I don't want to monopolize the conversation here, but
no, that's what you're here for.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. No, I agree. I want to foot stomp the importance of goal setting, of mindset, of vision, because it's just something that isn't taken as seriously as it should be. And I'm guilty of that. I remember I just got back from this event called 18 Alpha, or now High Alpha Builders Conference. It's a retreat that we've done for the last 5 years in Colorado at a ski resort. And it's been amazing to see the growth amongst the folks who have been attending. Then the core group of folks is the same. The first year we were in Breckenridge, we were drinking like crazy, we were partying, skiing a bunch, and talking about tactfully, how can we make as much money as humanly possible, right? And I remember someone came to talk about mindset, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't care. I just want to know how I can create some cash flow. Mindset's stupid. Now, every discussion we have is around mindset. We spent 2 days coming up with our vision and execution and stress testing that and reverse engineering, everything that goes along with that, right? And now I completely agree with you. If you don't know where the car is headed, how are you going to drive the car? How are you going to get to your destination?
Let me put a pin in
to have that.
Let me put a pin in what you just said. It's the power of your peer group. Okay, that's a critical piece of this, because who you hang out with is who you become. And I will tell you, you show me your 3 best friends and I'll show you who you are in your relationships, in your health, your happiness, definitely your finances. Okay, so the problem is a lot of people default to people they work with or went to school with, and they may have their own limiting beliefs and fears that hold you back, fear of losing you, fear of feeling less than if you succeed. And sometimes it's family. Well, I tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your peers. When I was losing everything in 08 and 09, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership. It was like over $100,000 at the time. It's more than that now. And I was around people that were killing it in the crash. They were thriving. I'm not going to say it was through skill. It was probably some of it was through luck. But they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million schmillion, go make something happen. That's who you need to be around, not just in your growth period, but definitely when the stuff hits the fan. And so a couple more quick things. One of them is focus. My podcast now has, pushing over 30 million downloads, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a podcast, it's pretty good, especially a niche one like mine. And I listen to 2 podcasts. So we're talking about focus for a minute, because where focus goes, energy flows, okay? And the most successful people on the planet have the highest degree of focus. I mean, look at Elon, people like that, even Bezos. I mean, incredible focus. But here's the thing, whatever you focus on gets larger, both positive or negative. Like I'll get people call me and say, how do I get out of student loan debt? I'm like, wrong question. How do you make so much money that debt's irrelevant is the question you want to ask. They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace, right? But I mentioned those 2, the podcast is because I listen to 2 podcasts. I listen to Joe Rogan and I listen to Tim Ferriss. I try to get both sides of the aisle. I try to stay a little balanced. I'm definitely on one side. But anyway, on the other side is Tim Ferriss. And he interviews the best of the best in the world. I mean, like the best athletes like Michael Phelps, NFL, NBA players. And by the way, I mentioned my downloads because they probably get 30 million a week, both those guys, okay? But anyway, so, on Tim Ferriss's show, he interviews the best of the best. Billionaires like Ray Dalio, actors like Hugh Jackman, Ed Norton, Arnold, Jamie Foxx, heads of the biggest companies in the world like Zuckerberg. And he deconstructs their success. It's a fascinating conversation. But I started to hear a pattern. They almost all meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? Focus is power. And then a couple more quick pieces. One is playing to your strengths. A lot of people will tell you to build up your weaknesses. No, your strengths are your greatest assets. In our business, there are a lot of different hats you can wear. You compete like I was thinking about that orthopedic surgeon when we started talking here. He's raised tens of millions of dollars for deals. So he does investor relations. You can find the deals. You can underwrite the deals if you're super analytical. You can be the mouthpiece like Rod that builds the relationships with the investors and the brokers and the so on and so forth. You can do the asset management if you've got some project management experience or construction experience. So lots of hats you can wear, but you want to play to your strengths. Some of the best partnerships I see are an outgoing extrovert with an analytical introvert. That's a match made in heaven because you need both pieces. But when you're playing to your strengths, you'll love what you do and you never work another day in your life. And you're in the quan, right? Like Jerry Maguire, you're in the zone and you're going to be passionate. When you're playing to your strengths, you love what you do, you're passionate, and passion's required to influence people. So again, focus on that. When you're playing in your strengths and you hire, align, or partner for your weaknesses, success is inevitable. And, and the last piece that I'll talk about is, actually two last pieces. I want to talk about the most important foundational emotion we have available to us. And don't tune me out because you're thinking this is foo-foo, because this is how I had 50 million to lose. Now I got it back. So ignore what I'm going to say at your peril is all I'll tell you. Okay. And that is gratitude. Okay. Gratitude is how you manifest everything you want in life. It's the most important foundational emotion we have, but it's how you make everything happen for yourself. And, it makes us stronger when we face adversity. It strengthens our immune system. You as doctors should know this. It makes our heart stronger, lowers our blood pressure. Gratitude does all that. It's incredible. And of course, it brings us closer to our spirituality. But it's how you attract everything in your life. It's how you manifest. If I didn't have this crappy green screen behind me here, you'd see my recliner behind me and my vision boards on the floor right there. Because most mornings I'll sit in that recliner and I'll just do gratitude for the people that I love in my life. And then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And I've gotten emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. And you're like, oh, good God, he's in foo-foo land. Well, this is how I had 50 million to lose and how I got it back. So ignore it at your peril. And I'll leave you with one thing. And that is, you talked about what I did for kids. When I was 18, this ties into goals. I knew I wanted to live on the beach, and I lived in Denver, and there's no freaking beach in Denver. But I would visualize the palm trees, the sand, the surf, the sand, the waves. And 20 years later, I built what's now about a $10 million mansion on the beach. I owned the beach on one side, and I had my boats on the backside. It was called a 𝗆𝗍𝗍𝗍, sliced through an island, spectacular place. I mean, I just described this real quick. On the second floor, there was a balcony waterfall that went into the pool. You had to walk through the waterfall to get to the pool. Pools and magazines, big spiral staircase up through the middle, wine cellar, elevator. On the second floor, I had aquariums built around the staircase that cost me almost $200,000. So this gives you an idea of the house. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night. So I'd worked for this for 20 years. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night. And I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, which is really what it was. It was to prove the freaking world I was good enough. That didn't do it. I mean, forget it. Okay. And, yep. and I got depressed. I mean, my beautiful family's inside sleeping. I had all the toys, the Maserati and the Mercedes and the boats and the jet skis and all the stuff. And I'm looking up this thing and I got really depressed. I'm like, what the hell? I've just achieved success like times 10,000. There's a real message here. Okay. So stay with me. And what I realized was there were three things happening. One is you never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it. Because like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. You need a vision for the future. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. So that was number one. Number two is happiness doesn't come from the goals. You need them to get off your ass and make things happen and create that burning desire. But happiness comes from progress and growth. And I didn't know what I was going to do there next either. They say the happiest days of a boat owner's life, the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat. Well, that's the truth. Okay. But the big thing was I was totally focused on me. Rod, show the world I'm good enough, blah, blah, blah. That's the year I met Tony Robbins, and I've spent 23 years with Tony. But I saw that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. I'm embarrassed, sad to be 40 to get that memo. So I called my brother in Denver, and I said, and I was going to go visit him for Thanksgiving. I said, bro, let's feed 5 families. It'll be a blast. So he called his church, found 5 families who really needed help. We bought the food and the frozen turkeys and toys for the kids. And the third family changed my life. We go up to this shack, and it was a freaking shack. It wasn't even a 1-bedroom. And there was a Hispanic woman in there with 5 kids. And she came out. She saw the stuff on the porch. She started crying. Her kids came out. 2 of the older ones started crying. I started crying. And I was hooked. And like you mentioned, the last 26 years now I have fed. And there's a message here, so don't tune this out, guys. There's a message if you want success. So stay with me. In the last 26 years, like you said, I've fed around 160,000 children for the holidays. I've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local kids that don't even have the basic supplies for school. Don't get me started on that. And thousands and thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for their officers to keep in their vehicles so that they encounter a child that's been in a traumatic situation. And the reason I bring that up is we've been taught to achieve to be happy. And we shouldn't be happy until we've achieved, right? It's kind of an American thing, but it's like a big deal, especially for men. I'm going to tell you, if you give back in any fashion, you're happily achieving. And I know it's a play on words. Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement's a science. If you want to learn commercial real estate, get your ass to my boot camp. I'll tell you how you can come for $47, and I don't sell anything there. It's 2 days. You can do it in your underwear at home. It's virtual, but that's a science. I'll give you the blueprint and the map. You just got to go do it. Okay. That's a science. Achievement's a science, but fulfillment's an art. You got to figure out what juices you. For me, it's kids and the elderly. Maybe for you, it's animals, the environment, whatever it is, give back right now. Don't say, you had money. That's why you gave back. You want the money? Give back. That's how you get it. That's how God works. That's how the universe works. So I just wanted to leave people with that piece.
Yeah, I love that, Rod. And I agree. And I think that, it's a true testament to just the purpose of really just the purpose, right? Like the purpose and the fulfillment that comes with giving and giving to others is massive. And you had everything by worldly standards, with the house, with the jet skis, with the boats, with the waterfall and the amazing pool. You had everything, and you were not fulfilled. And I think that we're most fulfilled when we have the purpose, the growth, when we're learning. Yep.
That's how we get.
And then when we give, right. And if you don't do those things, you're not going to be fulfilled. And I'm a Christian. I obviously got the cross right behind me. And, I don't think that you are truly fulfilled until you serve others and you give.
Sorry about the profanity. I use it for info.
It's okay.
Okay.
But I'm not perfect. I curse too.
Okay.
But Rod, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong here, I kind of think through freedom, right? And I think that, we kind of start on this journey where it's financial freedom to some degree, which then leads to time freedom, which leads to mental freedom. And I think that the end, what we're really looking for is the giving freedom, right? Like, how do I have so much money available or relationship capital available with that I'm then able to give anything, right? And I think that is what folks are really looking for. What are your thoughts there?
I completely agree. It's interesting. I interview very, very wealthy people. I mean, I've interviewed, people with tens of thousands of units. Okay. And sometimes I meet one that I can tell is like me before I had that epiphany. And I feel sad for them because they're really not fulfilled. They've got to figure it out on their own. But everything in this universe contributes in some fashion. If it doesn't, it's eliminated. And that's just the way it works. That's the way God works. And I will tell you, whatever you give comes back to you tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. You want love, give love. You want happiness, smile at people when you walk by. You want money, give money and give up your time. And that's just the way it works. And now you don't necessarily do it for that reason, but that's the way it works. And it's absolutely the case. So if you want to call it prayer, when I manifest in my recliner, you could call it prayer, and that's fine. That's probably what it is. And I'm exploring Christ right now, by the way. I got a book called The Case for Christ. Another
a great
podcaster. And it is. I'm in the middle of it. But for those of you that don't know, it's about an investigative reporter that didn't believe in God, studied Jesus, and really dug deep, and now he's a huge, Christian. So,
𝗍𝗵𝘆𝗀𝗍, for folks who are wondering. Yeah, Case for Christ, amazing book. Yeah, Rod. Also check out 𝗬𝗷 at Heart by John Eldredge. That's really great one. I know you're a father. Yeah, 𝗬𝗷 at Heart by John Eldredge. I know you're a father, and so that one hits a little bit differently when you're a father, but that's a great one as well.
Thank you.
I love to hear that. I love that you're exploring that, and I think that's incredibly important. So thank you for sharing that. Man, time is flying. Well, I wanted to hit a couple questions, Rod, before we wrap things up. But what do you think is a belief about money that you wish physicians would adopt earlier?
Well, you touched on it, freedom. You guys work your asses off. As a physician, and you've got big hearts. And you've got families, and you deserve time with those families. I got to tell you, my greatest regret in life was coming home to my kids and being so focused on proving to the world I was good enough. And trust me, that caused me to be a huge success financially. But I lost time with my kids. I would play with them every night, but I wasn't present. And and I know as physicians, you guys work so freaking hard, and you care so much. And you deserve financial and time freedom. And very often you can't get it from your field. And so I'm going to tell you, there's some crazy stuff happening with AI right now regarding surgeries and things like that. And I think some of these jobs might be going away and being outsourced. And I hate to say it. Definitely, I don't know if you heard Elon Musk's latest interview on Joe Rogan. He basically said anybody working in front of a computer basically is not going to have work within a couple of years. And so, if there was ever a time to reinvent yourself, it is right freaking now. There's opportunities to buy businesses because there's, again, 10,000 people a day turning 65. It's crazy. And so opportunities there, definitely opportunities to buy real estate. If that's the case, come to my boot camp. It's at Rod's links as well. But pick, if you have any inclination that possible AI could cause you to have some hiccups with your business, don't wait for the freaking shoe to drop. Start that side hustle right now. Get up to speed, because it takes some time. You got to figure out what role you're going to play and all that. So start now. And that way, you've got that security, because honestly, the only security you have is between your ears. So that's my comment on it.
That's a great answer. Well, Rod, if folks want to reach out to you, they want to join the boot camp, they want to learn more, how can they do that?
It's Rod's links. That's the best place. My boot camp site is there. My podcast site is there. Podcast is really good. I got a ton of free books there. Some of them best in class. They're all free. Even my best-selling book, I've got a national bestseller called, you can't see it with this damn thing in here. Anyway, it's called How to Create Lifetime Cashflow Through Multifamily Properties. Never even had a critical word about this. I've given away tens of thousands of copies. You can give the physical copy for like $6 or $7. And don't say, you make money on that. No, it cost me $30 to send it to you. But so Rod's links is the best place. My goal setting workshop is there. Do that. Have your spouse do it. Have your kids, if they're over 10 years old, do it. Design their lives. It's very powerful. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's incredibly important. And 𝗍𝗵𝘆𝗀𝗍.com as well. You have a lot of great resources there. Man, Rod, this was awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Any parting shots before we wrap things up?
No, just don't have any regrets, my friends. Okay, there's nothing worse. Don't have any regrets. I'm embracing life. I'm looking at life through a lifestyle filter now. I'm doing a lot more traveling. Time's going by so freaking fast. So grab life by the what. Yeah,
I love it. That's what freedom looks like. Thanks, Rod. I appreciate it. And with that, it's been Rod Khleif and Dr. Alex Schlow on the Physicians and Properties Podcast. Signing off. Hey, real quick, if you're still listening to this, I'm assuming you got value from it. So I need your help specifically. My 2-year vision with this podcast is to help 100,000 physicians learn how investing in real estate can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want. There are 2 main ways that a podcast grows. One is through ratings and reviews, and the other is word of mouth. If you can please leave me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as send this to 1 to 2 friends that you think would get value from it, we can reach the physicians that we want to reach. Thanks in advance, and talk to you on the next episode. Please note that the information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only. It should not be considered financial or medical advice. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the host and the guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Defense or the United States Air Force.